welcome back. Thanks for joining me. In today's video, I have a little twist on the double time stamping technique. That's been around for a little while, but I recently saw an idea in a card magazine and I really loved it, and I wanted to try and reproduce this using our Stampin' Up! Inks and images. And it's a really fun idea, I thought. I call it the double layered duo technique. So I can't wait to show you about it. Just remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe so you can get updates when I post new videos. And any of the products that you see me using are available in my store if you're in Australia. So I'll be popping those links below on YouTube, or you can find me on my Facebook page. I'm going to spin the camera around, so let's get started making the card. So here we have our cards that I'm going to show you how to create using this technique. I'm using the beautiful Delicate Dahlias stamp set. This is available for Sale-A-Bration at the moment. There's only a few weeks left, but I just love it with all the images. So let's get started. So let's bring in our card. You'll need 2 white pieces. These measure 9.7 by 14 centimeters or 4 inches by 5 1/4. You can have your card mat. Just get some coordinating colors with what you're stamping with. I'm using Highland Heather and Pale Papaya. These are 10.1 centimeters by 14.4 centimeters or 4 1/8 inch by 5 3/8. These are your standard card sizes that you would use, and you've got your white card bases. So firstly, let's use our white. I'm just going to move these aside to show you how we're going to stamp this. Let's get our inks. We have, I think it's a good idea to start off by putting all your stamps and your inks together, what you're going to do. Let's have our Highland Heather. We want our Pale Papaya with the smaller flower. I'm using Pear Pizzazz for our larger leaf. And we'll just move these across. And Old Olive, just for our teeny tiny leaf. So what you want to do is we're going to first ink up our Highland Heather. Give it a good inking. And we're going to stamp it up in this corner up here. Just go offset. Now, this would normally be like you're stamping it on here as your second generation stamping, which is known as. But I found particularly with this, it might just be with this style of stamp, it's a distinctive style stamp. When I stamped it again straight away on the cardstock, it was just too pale. So what I found it was best was just ink it up again, but just give it a really, I'm going to bring some scrap paper in here so you can see. Just give it a really gentle touch on the paper to take off some excess ink, and you can stamp it again. So roughly around the same position. So you'll get that softer stamping. So we're going to ink it up again. We're going to keep doing this, inking it and stamping it for our first stamping. And just, I like to stamp it off because where it offsets that paper, you get this line across it. Oh, if you can see that, you'll get a line across it. So you want to tap that on some scrap paper too. So ink it, just really gently tap it off and stamp it again down on your paper. You get a light stamping, just a little softer one. Just scrub that off again, ink it, just stamp that off gently, and I'm going to stamp it over here. And I didn't do that first one on there, so we'll just go back. That's okay. This time we're going to ink it and you're going to stamp it fully on there. So that's our Highland Heather. So the idea is the second one is just that softer stamping, a softer colour. So I'm going to get rid of this Highland Heather before I put my fingers in it. I'm going to bring the pale papaya in. The same, you're going to do the same with this. So ink it straight on there. Some of it, it's good to stamp it off the card a little bit. Ink it again. Oh, we'll just tap it off. Ink it, give it that really light touch and stamp it again over here. Ink it here, stamp it. Right, now we want to get rid of that pale papaya ink and bring in our Pear Pizzazz. You'll do the same then with the leaf. I'm going to ink it up. And just find a position to stamp it in. It can go off the edge of the card, that's okay. I'm going to stamp it off. Take your time, think about your stamping. So you're going to first ink up that solid stamp and stamp it directly on your card. Then take off some of the excess before you ink it again. Lightly dab it off and then stamp it on your second piece. So your second piece is going to be that lighter stamped image. So we'll just keep going with the leaf. Right, so you can continue filling that in if you feel there's more gaps. We didn't do some of the smaller leaves, so I'll just grab that old olive and our tiny leaf. I think for this one I'm just going to go around and stamp each of the leaves. For this one, we're just going to ink it and stamp it off. To save some confusion, you can stamp the first piece with the first generation stamping, just inking, stamping, and then just focus on this second piece by inking it up, dabbing it off, and stamping directly on your card. So you don't have to get confused as much of whether you've stamped it off or you need to stamp it off. So that might help you out. Then we come to putting the card together. What you'll need to do now is we're going to cut this center section out. So you can do that together, put the cards together. I'm using this one of the smaller stitched rectangles dies. So you can just line that up, center it on your card, have these both pieces together and position it in the center, and we're going to run that through with our die cut machine. So I'm just going to go and do that. So I've run that through on our embossing die cut machine. You'll want to run that through a couple of times just so it will cut through both layers. So we're just going to pop that out. Isn't this such a pretty stamp set? Oh, don't miss out on this set. If you want to put an order in, this you'll get free with orders over $180 in Australia. But don't miss out, it's so gorgeous. So we can separate those two, and we'll just separate these. They'll easily come apart. Now to put it together, we've got our smaller card pieces. These are our mats for our centerpieces. So for this, these measure, these measure 6 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters, or it is 2 3/8 by 3 3/4. This will give you a little edge around the die cut piece. You can do this in any shape too. Don't just think about it in rectangles. You could do a circle or an oval, could be another different shape. The idea is just having the die cut centers both the same and having a mat, having that little highlight around it. So we'll bring our card mats in that we've already cut. And we'll bring our bases in. And now you're just going to assemble these pieces. I've added the lighter piece to the pale papaya and the darker stamped image on the Highland heather. Then these pieces you'll want to swap. So we're going to swap the centers. You have the lighter piece matted on your Highland heather, and we'll have this one, our darker one, on our pale papaya. So it's sticking these together. Before you stick it together, we're going to stamp our sentiment, and you could do that separately, but I'm going to be brave and stamp it directly onto here. What I'm going to do with this card is actually give it a twist. You can do it both the same size, but I'm going to do it that way and stamp our piece on that. So bring in our memento. This one is It's Your Day, Enjoy It. It fits nicely in the center and it just really stands out. Now the pressure is on to have a good stamping. You could use your Stamparatus if you're not too sure about it. Give it a good inking and press that down. And we're all just going to hold our breath for the moment. That turned out okay. For this one, I'm going to ink that up and just stamp that in here. It'll just squeeze in there. That stamped up okay too. Phew! We'll just stick that all together. So just run your adhesive. I'm using the Tombow. Just run some Tombow or whatever adhesive you use. I'm just going to dab some of that off. And do that on your frame as well. You want to go outside and the inside section. Add that onto our piece. Do the same with the other card. I have white card bases, thick basic white. So you'll add your adhesive to the back. Then bring your dimensionals in to stick these on the back. And you're going to raise it up. It's good to have that extra dimension to your cards. Just add some, if you've got the dimensional strips, or if you've got the strips, that's good. Otherwise, just we'll add a few of these around. To finish that off, you just add some bling. I've used the rhinestones and the champagne rhinestones. So we'll bring in the other two cards so you can see them. So this is a double layered duo card. What do you think of that? It's just a different idea. I love this softer stamping on one version, and then you've got the center is the darker one. So it's good to switch them around. I hope you have a go of that. Check out what you can use. If you want that Delicate Dahlia set, I'd get onto that very soon. So you can get the Delicate Dahlias with your qualifying orders for over $180. But also, if you've got a long wish list, you might just want to consider joining the Stampin' Up family. I'd love to welcome you to my team. And it's a great opportunity to get that extra bundle during Sale-A-Bration too. So give these a go. Thanks for watching today, and I will see you again soon. Bye.